All right, so I'm going to do a quick follow-up on this knife, which is the Lon Humphrey Monitor. I've had it for a little while now. I did a quick initial, first sort of look at it type review. But now I've had some, time using it. It's been on my belt more or less consistently, for the last month or two here. Well, month and a bit, I guess. So I've used it to the point where I've actually had to sharpen it. So I've, I think I've got enough time with it that I can give some, feedback on what I think about it. Yeah, I really like it. I'll start off with, some of the basics. It's just about a 6-inch blade, 5.8 or something like that inches, close to, I think, 187 thou thick, 52-100 steel. This one's desert ironwood. It has orange liners. It's forged, obviously. If you're familiar with any of Lon's knives, you know that they're a forged blade. They're the production ones, or his production ones, which are not like production in the sense of, like a Buck or a Bark River or something like that. They're all made by him. He just ends up, I think he sends out the the sheet of steel and has the profiles, like the blanks, water jet cut, and then he forges the bevels and does everything else in-house. So everything's done. The handles and stuff like that, the scales are all put together. I think he's got a big CNC machine there that mills out the scales, so everything's it's kind of semi automated as far as some of the steps, like the handle scales and stuff like that. And as far as the time it takes to cut out a knife profile by hand with a metal bandsaw versus sending them off to be water jet cut, like, I mean, it's ridiculous. So anybody that might say, oh, they're not really a fully handmade, totally forged knife, well, sorry, you're a freaking idiot. Because I get irritated with stupid comments about stuff like that. Wow, it's not fully handmade. Like, well, what are you talking about? You didn't make the bloody steel. You didn't build yourself a bloomery in your backyard and smelt it yourself. So there's materials and things that you've bought and whatnot to make the knife that other people have put work into, right? Whether it's manufacturing the steel or harvesting desert ironwood. It's just nonsense. Anyways, so yeah, these are like a fully handmade knife. They're a production run of his knives, but they're still handmade in every sense, right? So you're getting a knife that's in a totally different league than your production knives, like cold steel or Buck or anything like that. Even the Bark Rivers. I mean, some people call the Bark Rivers like a semi-production run, and I can sort of appreciate where they're coming from when they say that. But it's I mean, made by how many different people? Goes down a production line, right? They make an excellent knife and offer an excellent product, and I have nothing but good things to say about Bark River, but not the same thing as this. This is a fully handmade, hand forged knife that he's taken some advantages of modern technology and manufacturing processes to make it so that there's enough of these available that your everyday person can go out and buy one. So anyways, going back to the knife, the handle on this it's absolutely the same handle that you find on the Alpha. Now the Alpha you can't get anymore, right? And this is I tell you, it's a absolutely phenomenal knife. And I know I've got some of my viewers commenting on my videos that would really like to be able to find an alpha. So I figured, you know what, why don't I take a little bit of time here and make a video comparing the alpha to the monitor, because they both share the same handle. They have, I think, the same stock thickness here. Now they are, but the main difference being that they've got, you know, different blade profile. So the alpha being a spear point blade, right? More suited to bushcrafting and, you know, woodworking type stuff, right? It's a stouter blade with a thicker tip. And then the monitor, which is a clip point. Now, out of these two blades, depending on, you know, I guess what you envision yourself doing with them, the clip point generally is a more versatile blade. You know, they still have, you know, fairly thick tip on it, not like the alpha with that spear point, but it offers you, you know, a lot more ability to do fine detail work. You know, as a hunting knife, both of these knives are excellent, but the clip point is going to be better in a lot of ways, because it's still, you know, it still has a drop point on it. It just doesn't have, you know, that rounded drop. But the fact that the point is below, you know, the top of the blade, it's more or less in line with the center line of the blade. They both are pretty much identical in that respect. They share sort of a similar amount of drop to the point. The cutting edge on the alpha it's got more of a straight edge on it, so you've got more of a straight cutting edge, which is good for woodworking and notching and stuff like that. Whereas the monitor has not quite as long of a straight cutting portion of the edge. It goes into the belly of the blade a little bit sooner, and it's a little more progressive as far as how quickly that belly sweeps up to the tip. So it's not got a whole lot more belly as far as being able to skin, but there's a little more, and the radius of the belly at the tip is less than the alpha, but not much, right? I'm trying to see if I can show you. They're very, very similar. So, you know, the way the blade looks, being that one is a spear point and the other one is a clip point, you can see that the alpha has just a little bit more belly. So, that being said, there's nothing that you can't do with this knife that you can do with the alpha when it comes to a hunting knife or just general use, right? Be it you know, camp knife, doing chores, doing, you know, just simple woodworking type stuff, right? Cutting branches or notching or whatever. I mean, you know, the only thing you're going to notice between these two blades where one is better than the other is the tip thickness, right? So the strength of the tip on the alpha is obviously going to be a lot more than the monitor here. So that being said, you know, the only setting where I would, like, I don't know that I would say that it's going to be an issue, but where I could see the benefit of having a stouter tip is, you know, in a hunting setting would be, you know, like trying to pop the knee joints on a moose or an elk or something, but especially a moose. The only time I've ever really broken a blade and done it in a way that, you know, was a complete accident, not me being an idiot or anything like that with a blade, was actually just popping the knee joint on a moose. And it was done with what the hell was it, a Gerber Steadfast. And it was, you know, it was a total failure of the blade and should never have happened. But in that particular setting, the alpha would be superior. But the monitor, if you're careful and you use a knife the way it's supposed to be used and it's heat treated and, you know, the way that it should be, and everything's done properly. Even though this has a finer tip, with a blade made out of 52-100, you're not gonna break it. You're not gonna snap it off. I mean, these, I don't know what the actual Rockwell hardness of these are, but if I were to guess based on the feedback I get when I'm sharpening these, they're probably close to 60, maybe a little bit more, but my guess would be right around 60. So at 60, 52-100 is still pretty darn tough, right? I don't know how it compares to 3V or whatnot, but it's not a brittle steel, right? Like it's a tough, strong steel. So I can't foresee, you know, there being an issue with breaking that tip, using it in a, you know, a reasonable fashion, whereas, you know, you wouldn't with that. So I don't know that you're gonna lose any performance capabilities by going with the Monitor over the Alpha when it comes to just your typical uses that you're going to use a blade that's of this size for, right? The only thing is that this would be, you know, a bit better when it comes to woodworking, but honestly, I mean, I don't ever use my knives in a way that I'm gonna appreciate that stouter tip on this over this. I mean, the cutting geometry and the edge geometry between these two blades are very similar. The Monitor is actually a little thicker behind the edge. I'm not sure if you can see it on the photo, but both of these knives have been sharpened on my work sharp. I'm going to come around to the other side of the camera so that I can show you guys a little bit better here. So both of these knives have been sharpened at 20 degrees, and to give you a real good visualization as far as your thickness behind the edge, look at how wide the secondary bevel is, right? So on the Alpha, it's thinner than the Monitor. So measuring those two with a dial caliper, you will find that the Alpha is a little bit thinner behind the edge than the Monitor. So even though the Monitor has a clip point blade, it's you know, it's a very stout knife, right? It's not you're not dealing with a delicate blade. So I think for most, they look at that clip point and they go, oh well, that's you know, a much more delicate knife than I'm looking for, and I want to go with the Alpha. And that's about as much thought as I put into it. And I guess what I'm getting at is the fact that this is available. You can buy it right now, no problem, brand new, right? This isn't. If these were both available, you know, and you could have your pick of either, then, you know, it might weigh on me a little bit more which blade profile I'd prefer. And honestly, from a utilitarian perspective, I would gravitate towards the Alpha. From a performance, general, all-around use perspective, I'd probably lean towards the Monitor. My inclination overall, honestly, would be to go for this blade profile, simply because in my mind, this blade profile speaks to me as a fighter, right? It's that's really what the blade profile is. It's a fighter style blade profile, whereas this is, you know, it's a bushcraft blade style. But that doesn't mean that you can't use that for bushcraft stuff, and doesn't mean that you can't use that for fighting if you really wanted to. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm getting at, is that, you know, don't overthink it. If you're looking for one of these and you're disappointed because you can't find one, look at one of these. See if you can find one, you know, the right handle scale combo that appeals to you. Because honestly, you're not going to, you know, lose sleep and be disappointed that you got this and didn't get this. I really, you know, can't impress that enough on you. So they both have the same sheath, and then they've been pretty good. But anyways, I gotta end this video here. I hear my kids hollering upstairs.